Welcome to Breaking the Box. I'm your host, Tushar Saini, and in this podcast, we talk about stories of brilliant founders who don't think outside the box, rather break the box to do things to change the world. In this episode, we are going to talk about the story of a startup that started in a dorm room by a group of friends who at that time were in their second year at BITS Pilani. What started as an experiment is now revolutionizing how businesses hire for their content needs. Welcoming Anirudh, the founder and CEO of Pepper. So Anirudh, tell me, how did you really start? Kya story hai? Who is Anirudh actually, and how did you come up with the idea of Peppermint? And that too in the second year of college when people don't have any sense of what is happening in the college and around.
Right. So story ऐसे kind of थोड़ी सी novel type सी है कि वो starting in a dorm room and all that conventional stuff. But it's very interesting now that I think of it. It's almost been 3 years now, 3.5 years or so since we started Pepper. 2017 में start किया था हमने. And I think it's been nothing short of roller coaster based. मतलब it's been very exciting. It's been very hard, but I think the best part is it's all about just keeping on at the end of the day. So point is ki if you think you're holding on to something which is really important and is able to translate in any kind of impact, right? I think it makes sense to hold on to it. So I think that's been a good thing.
Okay. So when every student is in college, सबका ये होता है कि सबके दिमाग में एक कीड़ा होता है that let's start something of your own. So you would have had that कीड़ा in you as well.
Right.
So how did you thought कि यार content is the place that is going to grow, and content is something that I really want to work on because content is seen as something which is not very cool and people don't generally talk about it. We don't have a lot of startups in content, so there might be freelancers here and there. So content पे related या फिर content से कैसे, how did you think of starting a startup?
So I maybe disagree there in some sense कि content used to be a very unsexy thing, but it isn't anymore. मतलब I think today more than everything everyone understands the term content. Everyone can label good content versus bad content. You're going through your Instagram feeds, you're following your favorite influencers, so you have your choicest liking of content, and people realize what content can make. It is made careers of all the
Absolutely.
influencers and all these things. So I think it's the best time for content to for anyone to run a content-led business. I think all influencers, all creators are running their own businesses. There's literally, I think it's underrated. It's understated, mostly in these big ed tech, so news making stuff. I think this is underrated. But when TikTok came, there's this whole wave of creators that came on board. So I think that's where I see something like Pepper, changing that perception. Ki okay, it's not just like an unsexy thing. It's creating livelihoods. It's creating impact for youth, where maybe engineering or banking is not a primary. So for them, when we started in BITS, right? Honestly, if you ask me, I didn't know anything else apart from content. So I did electrical engineering. I was super bad at it. I didn't understand. I don't have like a coding background, and never really. I tried, but never really could get to understand that. So for me, content was the only thing that I knew, and I think that's the best part. Like start with where you have some ground, and I
Content
think
was in your blood.
not blood really. I think to read a lot, but yeah, I'll be honest. I never thought I could make a business out of something I loved doing, which was writing. I never thought that.
Correct, absolutely. So, Anirudh, when I was digging into your profile and I was going through a lot of other talks that you've had,
Okay.
I discovered that you just what you guys were you missed creating a world record. So can you talk something about that, of what exactly is that world record and how did you guys miss it in college?
Oh, that's interesting. So I have the senior Gaurav Mandlecha. He's a very dear friend. He's also invested in Pepper. He got him in the Series A round. Gaurav had this very interesting idea with a couple of other folks. He was kind enough to let me in also, where the idea was Guinness World Record attempt में solving Rubik's cube with maximum number of people at a point of time within a certain time frame. That was what the record was, and the stat was around 3176,
Mm-hmm.
which was the last record that was done by COEP Pune. And in a town like Pilani, जहाँ पे I don't think population's more than 15-20,000 people.
Bapre. Is
Where
BITS Pilani the only thing that is popular
yeah,
in
yeah,
Pilani?
yeah. So that's like 5,000 people out of 15,000 people are Bitsins,
Arey
and
Bapre.
uh, so target was to get 3,300 people to solve a Rubik's cube, and uh, it's not something that a lot of people are very born inept with. You need to learn how to solve one, and there are tricks, but then there's also just doing it. So the target was to teach 3,200 people or more how
Mm-hmm.
to solve Rubik's cube, and then eventually collect them together at one place.
Mm-hmm.
And Bitsins are lazy, and for every college people are lazy. They don't want to come out and do this within 30 minutes.
Oh,
And that was very interesting and काफी जान लगा रही थी, I think. I did most of the documentation work. So I used to write these applications to Guineas, directors,
mm-hmm.
multiple stakeholders, mailers, and so on. I have a blog also. I I don't know if I have the link right now. It's thebluefacade.wordpress.com. Usme there's a blog also about this. Where that's it. So we got 3,000 or 2,976. मतलब around 100 150 से रह गए हम लोग.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to successfully get 2,976 people or something to
Mm-hmm.
solve for the Rubik's Cube, but 150, 200 people didn't turn up. So it was thoda sa wo, but I think the sheer magnanimity of
I agree.
getting 3,000 people to solve a Rubik's Cube and learn it, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think these are very small incidents that shape up, what ambition looks like, or what actually scale looks like.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that is a great learning experience back then.
Great. And tell us about, we've mentioned BIT so many times. So tell us about what is the kind of cultures do you have there? Is startup culture very prevalent? Because, I see in very good colleges what happens is, because students at the end of the year, they are able to get a good job. Entrepreneurship is not very, very, prevalent, or people don't really prefer it. But what is the kind of culture in BITS?
So Bits, we've had a lot of interesting startups out of Bits. So we've had Swiggy, we've had Belong, and Grey Orange, Visit. A lot of startups that have come out of Bits who've been doing great. And, I think uh, it's not that prevalent as one might think about it. If I were to think of my batch, like people in my batch, startups who have done who've seen doing well, probably people I know especially, is just two or three of those companies, and that includes us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is out of batch of 1,000 people.
But are
So
there a lot of people who try to do it but are not able to
a lot of
succeed?
people, yeah. See, वही then वो chutzpah वाली चीज होती है कि everyone wants to try out,
Yeah.
but it looks fancy in your resume when you're like co-founder XYZ and all of that. But like I said, right, scaling startups is tough,
Mhm.
and when you need to make real life choices, कि placement में बैठूं या ना बैठूं,
Mhm.
that's tricky because you've probably spent 3 or 4 years of your life preparing for JE, just to get into a good college,
Correct.
just to throw that away for just a bet in the space. So that's so obviously there's risk appetite involved, and people have a lot of ambitions. I in fact when I came to BITS, I wanted to go to McKinsey or BCG, and after my first semester, I screwed up in accounts, and that's when I realized कि नहीं हो पाएगा. Then I had to
BCG
figure out.
strictly takes, people who are very, very brilliant in terms of academics. So सारे toppers को उठा
Yeah,
लेता
yeah,
हूँ वैसे ही.
वो academic record को ही लेते हैं. And
हाँ.
that's when I realized कि fuck, क्या करें? I just have 3 years to figure out the rest of my life, and going through that existential crisis is when I double down on figuring out, okay, what is this one thing that I am good at? Probably other 950 people aren't. And the only thing that I could come up with probably was writing. I could just write well. That's it.
And Anirudh, so you started in second year, but did you start it as like a project which you were interested in, or were you very clear right from the first day कि यार इसको चलाना है and this has to grow as a startup?
Right. I think it always starts from a project perspective. I think so. Well, obviously there are a lot of people who start for the sake of starting up. कि नहीं करना ही है startup type तो idea ढूंढो. But for me, it wasn't that. It was to do something meaningful in my life, which makes some sense. And pepper was the most sensible thing at that time in my life. Maybe I could give it a try. And I had 3 other people at that time working with us, including Rishabh, who's my co-founder now. And they're very kind enough to just buy into what I was saying. Yeah.
All right. And so as I said, when I was digging into your profile, I did get to see a lot of interesting things. So first one was the Guinness Book World Record wala thing. Second one is the background of your LinkedIn, where you say that every company is going to be a content company.
Yeah.
Would you want to, share of what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. Point is, like I said, right? Content, commerce, and community are three key pillars for any business to be built upon in today's digital age. And what's very important is content is a very strong enabler for both commerce and community. And because there's this whole wave of digitalization happening, uh, just compare it to say the early 90s or thousands. So many brands across segments. What was a key differentiator is maybe a TV commercial or an ad or a banner or a billboard. It's only for those people who could afford it. So there was this fixed inventory, fixed ad space where you could only show very temporary stuff for some brands, and that's what was there. But in this age with the internet as a playground, there is no there's no problem for free storage or free space. At the end, everyone has that inventory now with them. You can start an Instagram page and you started. Essentially everyone is running in some sense a content business. If I have a Twitter profile and I have 5,000 followers and I am quoting XYZ, I in some sense myself am a content company where essentially I won't say content company, but essentially I'm a creator. So and from a business and a brand perspective, where they're selling something and content is probably the only differentiator. Even if it's a product which is a differentiator, they need to express it using content. So thesis is that every brand has to become a content company in order to be differentiating, in order to scale, in order to create that feeling of a truly differentiating thing. And I think that's why our mission company motto is every company is going to be a content company, and we can't wait for the day to change it to every company is a content company.
Great. So very interesting thought and very interesting, proposition behind how you, are planning it and then how you have structured it. So Anirudh, what are the kind of, people or what are the kind of handles do you see very, very interesting when it comes to content?
So you're probably asking me more about the influencers I like.
Maybe influencers, maybe a particular brand that you're very, very hooked up.
I talk brands. I think I so I really love Cred's campaigns. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of innovative content. I can see the level of innovation and the time they spend in crafting that copy. I love Swiggy, Dunzo, Zomato. Building a hardcore brand from the start, which about a crore of people are consuming. That takes a lot of branding and awareness, and they've done it beautifully. As in, just Zomato's last ad campaign, where they crowdsourced their YouTube ad, was one of the most wonderful campaigns I ever saw. So I think there's this whole wave. It's attention span. I average human attention spans decreased from 8 seconds to 3 seconds now, and that's why now essentially earlier people used to make content that was click worthy,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's scroll stopping, in that sense. And it's just become so interesting to see that it's just that your whatever you're creating, probably which you spend so much time on, has to be scroll stopping in order to make some sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's there.
All right. So Anirudh, let's come and focus on Pepper, and let me ask you a couple of questions regarding what you guys have been doing at Pepper. Uh, so I was reading a story, and I learned that you guys clocked a revenue of close to around 1 CR, 1.2 CR right in the first year, and you guys had good amount of 18,000 creators on your platform. So how did you actually got a huge volume of good content creators on your platform, and what was the entire homework and the work that was happening behind the screens?
Got it. So I think just to clarify and make that more clearer, 18,000 people applied to be part of Pepper, of which we work with the top 10% talent. So
Mhm.
for us, it's a very high quality structured pool that we ensure. So, uh, unluckily, we aren't able to create that big an impact like we would want to. At the same time, in the next 5 to 6 months, we're coming up with very interesting products apart from our marketplace platform that would also be able to go to more creators, make their lives easier and better. How we got to this, it's that way, hustle grind wala growth hacking. I don't think it was growth hacking for us. It's also market need,
Mhm.
because what we realized is, see, there's a very evident gap in the freelancing industry.
Mhm.
At the end, there's this whole new wave of creators coming online, earning side money. We Because we were students, we realized how there's so many students out there who are looking to sustain themselves on their own, the route of home and so on, and everyone was open to freelance writing. They had good time, so they were open to freelancing, and that's where a lot of our writers came from colleges at the start. We used to post jobs on Internshala, social media groups. Facebook was actually active back then. So you used to get like one posting used to get us like 150, 200 writer applications. Back then we had a mail where we used to sit down and review each application manually and write mails, rejection mails to
Mhm.
each and every person back and forth. So if you were to ask me personally, I have reviewed over 12,000 plus applications myself. So 12,000 CVs, 12,000 cover letters. So I think, yeah. So for us, initially is a lot to do with these organic channels, and now I think it's a word of mouth basis. We are luckily the market leader in text based content, at least,
Mhm.
and we have about 250 to 300 people applying organically.
Mhm.
So we don't run ads on our creators yet.
Mhm.
So most of our creator applications that come in 300 to 50, 300, they come organically on their own. So
Mhm.
we're seeing a great trend that way. But at the same time, for us, our goal and vision is very clear. we're looking at making a high quality marketplace. So we really particular about who gets to be part of this network.
All right. And on the other end of the spectrum, where you're looking at brands coming on board, how you guys are taking care of that? So, and you have seen a lot of good brands coming on platform. So, what
Right.
is the story behind that?
So we now have 500 plus brands who we're working with. So we're working with companies like Facebook, Cred, uh, Swiggy, Amazon, Adobe, uh, Apollo Hospitals, Max Bopa, ET Money, Times Internet, almost all major internet consumer internet brands now also into B2B space. Uh, the first 100 brands that we got into the entire system were all brands we cold called our ways or cold emailed our ways to.
Mhm.
I used to call 150 people every day as my sales target, and 15 people said yes.
Mhm.
That's a 10% good ratio, and I think that got us here. In fact, our first big customer. So there's one interesting story. We had this first customer who was a digital marketing agency, and they needed content on automotive content. So they car ke parts jo hote hain, they
Mhm.
wanted content on each one of those parts. And they had 250 articles to be written.
Mhm.
And इस इंडस्ट्री में ना मेट्रिक होता है पैसा per word. So we moderately priced ourselves at 75 paise per word.
Mhm.
And when we tried to reach the guy, he said he didn't respond. I
Mhm.
kept chasing after him, and he eventually said कि 15 paise per word में काम है.
Mhm.
And industry standard, at that time, now so it's still much better, hope luckily. That time was about minimum 30-40 paise per word.
Mhm.
And he said 15 paise per word. So we couldn't even outsource it to any writers, and we were starting,
Mhm.
and we had and it was November only. So we had our end exam starting from December first week. Just 9 days pehle, we had this call with this guy, and uh, but at the same time, I wanted to take it up because the next customer that we go to, I wanted to have a statistical advantage of doing 250 plus articles
In a
in a
couple
niche
of days.
category. Yeah. So we ended up writing them ourselves. So we should sit down at 9 p.m. in the evening.
Mhm.
We should write them till 5 a.m. in the morning.
Mhm.
And we did this for 9 days.
Mhm.
Um, we completed what was supposed to be done in 1 month in 9 days. And we earned 16,800 from
Mhm.
that first assignment. I think that was the first journey.
All right. And Anirudh, what would you say, things that worked out for you? So would you say the team was really good, or you would say the timing was really good, or maybe the right kind of people supported you at right point of time. So what would you say is that one thing that really helped you reach where you are today?
So I have this strong philosophy that success is always collective.
Mm-hmm.
It's never one man. So for us, success was collective. It was the team. I think. I'm really fortunate to have people around me in my team who work harder than I do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the goal. People who can work harder than you, and be at the same time be so driven uh, to deliver, to execute. And I think that's been the best thing that we are at. Once when you're so focused on execution and building heads down, right? Uh, the rest of things are secondary. They come on their own. Be it investors, be it traction, market scale. It's just about being very relentless in whatever you're doing and just put your heads down and keep executing. I think a team has a lot to do with that.
So Anirudh, I do get to interact with a lot of student entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and problem with all of them mostly is that these guys don't have clarity in terms of यार कि कैसे लोगों को team में लेना चाहिए, कैसे लोगों को नहीं लेना चाहिए. How do I really found my co-founder? So any tips on that of what do you really look at into when you are forming a team?
See, when you're student entrepreneurs, you really don't have a lot of options,
Mhm.
because if you're someone who's starting out of a job, Okay, you're great at marketing or sales and you need a tech person, so you go to a tech person to get them as a co-founder. But honestly, in colleges, you don't really have that level of experience or degree of maturity also. So for at that point of time, what double down on is intent, and is that it's intent and that degree of ambition realization in some sense, on whether the tangent on which two people think aligns or not. Because initially you need to align that very strongly for a team before you can take things up. Hence, that's super important.
Absolutely. Okay. So very interesting thing I am very for looking forward to is talking about the rounds of funding that you guys have been fortunate enough to raise. So just tell us the story of how did this really start? How did you start reaching out? How did start things started turning positive, and how did all these things actually happen?
Yeah, no, sure. For us, I think before we raised a seed round, we'd done about 1.75 crores of revenue since inception.
Mhm.
Just give me a sec. Just give me a sec.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Yes.
Yeah. So for us, yeah, before our seed round of investing, we had done about 1.75 crores of revenue already, and we had some very sizable traction. Purely from irrespective of us being student entrepreneurs or not, and that was also favored that brand ki young age mein itna kar liya and so on. So for us. We started a seed round. We had applied to YC. We didn't get in, and we were in the last round. And in Bangalore, we're coming back, and that's where Shraddha Sharma. I was interning in Yoshuri, so I knew her from then. Founder of Yoshuri, she invited us to her home, and we're telling her about it, and she's like, she's like, I want to invest in something what you're building, and she was the first check. So uh, a month and a half later, I came back to Bangalore, met her. She said yes to being the first angel, and then I think there's a lot of struggling. I remember I pitched to about 70, 80 people, all major angels in the country,
Mhm.
everyone. By the time we got a we got the so we had three term sheets back then, and we decided to go ahead with Titan, which is Kunal and Rohit from Snapdeal. And by that time, we were raising about 2.2 CR, and our round got oversubscribed to 4.6 CR. So suddenly everyone wanted to put in money, and it became it became really unreal. And that's where we realized ki, yeah, I think we chose our investors. We were very particular about who we got on board, and I'm really lucky, really humbled also for a lot of people trusting their money on a 21. I'm 21 now, so on a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old perhaps, a 20-year-old, I think, yeah, 20-year-old. And that was very heartening. At the same time, it is also very pressure भी बहुत था कि
I agree.
it's not my money, so वही वाली चीज है. But yeah, I think we grew well. We were working out of like a flat cum office in Navi Mumbai back then. So we took our first office, small, like wins in life or is. We're doing really well. We scaled up pretty fast. Like I said, we as a team are very agile. We're really strong believers of execution, and we executed fast on what we promised. Our existing investors helped connect to Lightspeed, more venture firms. Again, when we were going for our next round, uh, there's a very good response we got from a lot of firms, and that time also we then decided to go ahead partner with Lightspeed, and we're getting a fantastic chance to work with people like they for industry veterans. So for us, that's where we also decided to bring in some more angels from a strategic perspective. This is August, I think, this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been about 3.5 months after our last Series A, raised about 32 CR, 31.6 CR or so. And yeah, I think it's been super amazing. And the visions double down, the visions become global.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we've had an insane learning curve for ourselves as a team. This saying that a company can scale exponentially, but humans can only scale linearly.
Mm-hmm.
But founders have to learn to grow exponentially with the company, and
Absolutely.
that's the toughest part. So I think uh, it's been both fun and tiring,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, lots to go, lot of things to do now. It's
Absolutely, absolutely.
just the start.
So, you guys have really done a wonderful job, because of which there have been a lot of, good and powerful faces who have been backing you up. So that definitely, gives you and the team the kind of credibility and a kind of, a thumbs up that you guys are in the right direction.
Yeah.
So Anirudh, coming to couple of personal questions and asking you a couple of things that are that you do on a day-to-day basis. So just give us like a sneak peek of how does a day look like.
So our day looks like with endless list of tasks to do, and I am tired of finding the right, you know, platforms to just keep control of things. Because just there's just too many things the founder can, do, but they have like this endless list. So I don't think in the last 3 days there's ever been a day where I haven't known what I'll be doing the next day.
Mhm.
So in some sense, it's also a good thing. People say that it's a lucky thing that you have something like this, but at the same time, it's also tiring. So hence, I'm also probably working on a Sunday.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think it's pretty much work after that. I've just work and work till 10 or 11. I've been trying to work on fitness now.
Mhm.
Gain a lot of weight, so trying to go into that. And I want to spend, I start spending more time, talking to more people now, advisors, learning from more people, connecting to more people who have always admired, and now I'm getting a chance to work directly with them in some capacity or the other. And reading a lot of stuff, watching some interesting things. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. All right. Okay. And Anirudh, definitely, I want to know about how are you doing so well at LinkedIn? So, what is your secret ingredient? I do know that you are very well at writing the kind of content that you create, but what is your strategy while you are working on a LinkedIn, or what are the things that you take care of, or any tips that I should note of how to scale LinkedIn?
So I think there's a lot of LinkedIn gurus now to tell you most of that. So I think it's a lot about being authentic. People appreciate authenticity, is what I've seen. So it's creating content that's meaningful to you as an individual. Nowadays, you'll see a lot of things ki add value to your readers and
Mhm.
all of that. And there's 100,000 people adding value to others, but then point is no one's here for receiving a lot of value gyan.
Mhm.
Instead, it's about more conversations. It's about thinking
Mhm.
ki okay, influencing change of thinking. And I think founders, especially people who are starting out, uh, have platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter as their PR press.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, there's a lot of founders who you see now who are now building in public, where they like to update people from what's happening in their company, to learning from more and more people. So I think for me, it's using LinkedIn to connect to the right people. Of late, I started using it as a job hiring tool at scale. It's good followership, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for some very smart people to join us. So that's there. And yeah, I'm also kind of now using it to get public perception about the product that we're building. And sometimes we think a lot about things and build them in our head, and that's why most products fail, was always in the head of one person and not you know what the public or the customers want. And
Exactly.
that's something that I'm trying to figure out from a lot of my content nowadays. uh, third traction come ho gaya, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
working on it.
LinkedIn does a lot of weird things. कभी चलता है, कभी नहीं चलता, and depends on lot of different things. So कभी बहुत अच्छा reach आएगा, कभी बिल्कुल भी नहीं आएगा. So
Yeah,
that is weird indeed. तो वो तो है.
that's fine, but as long as it does not matter a lot to you about the reach, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And Anirudh, you mentioned that, and all the college students, and because I also completed, college very recently.
Yeah.
There is always a sense of risk that is there. That you started in second year, and there would always have been a sense of risk कि यार अगर पेपर नहीं चलेगा तो जॉब लेनी पड़ेगी या फिर जॉब में बैठना चाहिए नहीं बैठना चाहिए. So how did you and why were you were you very clear first of all that you don't want to sit for a job, or if you weren't, then how did you get clear in terms of कि यार job नहीं करनी है, I have to scale this up because this is what I'm more passionate about.
Well, not at the expense of sounding too tacky, but वही इश्क है तो इश्क है वाली चीज है. So I think for me, after 8 months into the company, when we registered our first LLP in June 2018, is where I became very clear that this is what I'm going to do for a good part of my life, and I don't want to sit on placements. And I was very clear, with respect to that. Okay, this is something I put my heart and soul in, because I could see the impact we're able to create, and I could see in some sense, I just don't know, but I could see that this is something that is sitting at the cusp of becoming something huge, and I need to get there. Uh, my parents were super supportive from the start, and there's no pressure as such on job lane and all of that. Though my guides did go through the drive, and social life भी थोड़ी hit हुई थी. But yeah, I think sometimes you just know, and even if you don't, it's fine. Like you right, just go through as much as you can, and if you think this even a slight chance of you being able to create something bigger, beautiful than yourself, right? Maybe go for it and give it a try. Might end up wasting couple of months if it does not work out, but I don't think it'll be wasteful experience. It'll just give you some very unchanged range of experience that you might that's the opportunity cost you might have lost while just getting into a job and then realizing कि नहीं यार कर लेना चाहिए था.
Exactly. So Anirudh, we keep for an entrepreneur, there are a lot of good days, but there are a lot of bad days as well. I'm pretty sure that these kind of days would have happened and would still be happening to you as well. So, what are the things, or what are the different kind of self doubts that you have, and how do you really tackle that?
So I think every day is a bad day, and
Mm-hmm.
there are some times which are good days, and this good days are shorter in number,
Mm-hmm.
because you're always trying to fix things as good and as fancy as it looks from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
अंदर से उतना ही चीजें टूटी होती है हर कंपनी के साथ. So that's what I've learned so far. So there's always things that you can do better. So at the same time, point is acceptance. Ki not all things are the best, and it's about efforts that are going to make things better, and just going through it, getting through it. Yeah.
All right. So we have almost come to the end of the session. And the last question that I want to ask is, because we have a lot of people who are young and listen to the kind of content that we create, what would be your advice to those young entrepreneurs who are either planning to start or are very, very early stage at starting their startup?
Right. So, see, if you're starting up and if you've got something that you really think can create a dent, right? There's 10 experienced people telling you कि that's a bad idea. Don't stop thinking कि ये लोग बहुत credible हो गए तो it's a bad idea, it won't make sense. Because probably even those people don't know the level of impact or level of change that you can bring through this supposedly bad idea.
Mhm.
Nothing's a bad idea essentially. So for you, if you are open to investing in an opportunity where you need to grind yourselves every day, and you're open to just falling down and keep moving up, and you're open to that level of attitude or experience, I'll say go for it. Keep going for it, because the reward, the risk to reward ratio is less, but there is grass on the green, it's on the greener side of things.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a possibility where things will get better. And for us also it's the same process. Like, we're also still continuing. It's been 3 years and still going. And there's nothing like an overnight success. uh, Instead of reading more about those funding stories that you see on your story or other platforms, read more about biographies, read more about probably why things didn't work out, so that you can reverse engineer and try to avoid things that have already been done. One very good thing that I recommend is read as many books as you can, because one thing that I realize is every possible mistake that you're going to make as an entrepreneur, as a person, is probably already made by someone else, and they've also documented it in some form or the other. The best thing is learning from that and not doing that again, and that just increases the odds and chances of success.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Anirudh, for the time. And we've completed right on time.